a lot of the same old problems. One in particular, concentrating the minds at the first Wednesday cabinet meeting since summer recess. What to do about France's Roma community. While the ministers were on vacation, police continued applying the policies of the previous government, breaking up squatter camps and expelling Roma families, most to Romania and Bulgaria. Back in March, the candidate François Hollande sent a letter to activists promising to do away with deportations. All must be equal before the law. There should be no specific policy for any category of people, especially based on real or supposed ethnic and racial basis, contrary to those of the outgoing candidate. He was referring to Nicolas Sarkozy. All must be equal before the law. Truth is, 80% of the French favor the dismantling of illegal Roma squatter camps, so says a recent poll, which also adds, though, that 73% admit it's an inefficient measure. So how do you integrate Romani people and so-called travelers, not just in France, but all over Europe? Today in the France 24 debate, we're looking at France's Roma problem. And with us is Samir Millet. He's the president of the Voice of the Romani. Thank you for being with us, a French-based organization. And also with us, Laura Slimani of the Socialist Party and Charles Živadinović of the Conservative UMP Party. Thank you for being with us. The France 24 debate, where you can weigh in on the conversation on Facebook, and on Twitter you can find us at François F24. There's more than 62 million people in France, according to EU statistics. 500,000 in this country are so-called Romas or travelers. 15,000 of them, under current rules, are potential targets for deportation. That's not much, but it's attracting a lot of attention. More in this report, read by Aurore Dupuis.
Searching for old washing machines, lamps or rods, scrap metal found in rubbish bins, or with the help of salvage associations. These Roma gypsies then sell what they can to wholesalers for a handful of cash. Do you earn much?
No, 40 euros per ton. And it takes us 1 or 2 weeks to find a ton of metal.
This family left Romania 5 years ago and has lived in France ever since. Like many others, they live off scrap metal and begging, sometimes resorting to illegal activities. Most gypsies are from Romania and Bulgaria. Since entering the EU in 2007, their countries are subject to strict measures, making it difficult for ethnic migrants to find a job. France and 8 other European nations didn't grant them full access to the labour market. Only a list of 150 jobs are open to Roma people. They have to have a concrete job offer, their employer has to pay a tax and get official authorization from the local council, which takes at least 3 months.
When you prevent Roma people from working, they're going to find a way to survive by begging or getting involved in illegal trafficking. So if you want to get rid of those traffickers, those mafia groups who exploit such dire situations, you have to lift the measures that prevent them from working.
According to human rights associations, up to 20,000 Roma live in France and don't have full rights either to education nor housing.
All right, before I ask you your reaction to that report, Samir Millet, let's get our terms straight here. When do you say gypsies? When do you say Roma? When do you say travelers?
Well, we never say gypsies. And gypsy is quite insulting, actually. Gypsy, it doesn't correspond to anything concrete. Everyone who is gypping, for instance, is a gypsy. Gypping in English, it means to
rip off.
Yeah. So when do we say Roms? Roms are a people of Indian origin with a language and a history spread all over Europe. There are maybe 12 millions in Europe and 3 or 4 millions in the rest of the world. This is the Romani people with a language, Romani language. I'm teaching this language in Paris University at INALCO Institute. And the travelers, it is a bit complicated. In a French context, the word traveler is the translation of gens du voyage, which is an administrative category created by French law since 1912 and modified in 1912. They were called nomads. And in '96, this law changed, and they are called gens du voyage since then. Actually, the Romani people are more or less targeted by this law, but also other people who are not of Romani descent. So this is the French meaning of gens du voyage, which is translated by traveler in English. While in United Kingdom, for instance, in Ireland, also in Scotland, there is another minority whose name is traveler. But this is a real ethnic identity. They are of Celtic descent, and they have nothing to do with the Romani people in terms of origin, language, and culture. But they are put also both together because they are leading a nomadic lifestyle, or supposed nomadic.
In the report, we see that people who, in this case, came from Romania. You yourself don't come from Romania. Your origins are from Albania.
Yes.
What are your thoughts when you see in that report what they describe, how the fact that we're ostracized, and that's what leads us sometimes to resort to illegal activities, to crime?
Well, very often people are not committing crimes because they are in a difficult situation, and this is also the case of this particular group of Romani people, which are only 15,000 of them out of 500,000 at least. And many of them, maybe even a majority of them, are evangelists, and not only crime, but they respect some rules that, in my eyes, are a bit too much. Some moral rules in the relations in the society, which are, at my opinion, a bit too much. They're not putting earrings, for instance, not using jewelry, because they are evangelists. And these people do not commit crimes. I'm not saying that no one of them does, but there is no high rate of crime among this population, and even the government, the previous government, recognized this. The counselor of Nicolas Sarkozy, when he was home minister, told us in a meeting that there was no more criminality among this population than in the general population in France.
All right, so let's get talk about the context. For those of you watching us outside of France, it's an issue that sprung up again this summer. It has been talked about in the past. In 2010, there was some serious verbal jousting between the then conservative government and authorities over in Brussels. Amnesty International chastising French authorities on Tuesday with a statement where they say most, if not all, the recent operations to dismantle Roma camps, including in the cities of Lille, Lyon, Marseille, appear to constitute forced evictions, as reportedly most inhabitants have not been properly consulted or offered any alternative to housing. The Guardian newspaper calling it a PR disaster for the new government.
I really don't think you can call it a PR disaster. I think maybe the crisis over the summer, or the so-called crisis over the summer, has been seen as such because maybe not enough communication has been made on the willingness of the government to lead a long-term policy and to find long-term solutions for Roma populations in France. That said, today, I think the government, because today is also ministers' day of going back to school to a certain extent. Today, you have seen that the Prime Minister and a certain number of ministers have started to actually actively work on the issue, and
they met with representatives from the Roma community.
Yes.
Let me just ask you before we go into those measures.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it Romania and Bulgaria, they're both members of the European Union. Why is it that France is expelling EU citizens to EU countries?
I think you obviously have a problem in this policy. And we have said it while Nicolas Sarkozy was in government, and we still believe it is the case. The problem is that as long as you don't have a long-term solution at the European level that is given to this population, and that enables this population to work as equal EU citizens, then it's difficult for the French government to lead the to have the solution on its own. That said, I think the government can take these measures, and that's why this meeting has taken place today. It's also to show that there is a solution that can be taken at the French level. I think in Ireland and to a certain extent in Italy, you have had temporary measures that allow Roma populations to work in a wider range of jobs. I think France should take these measures, and hopefully the government is working on it and will take them very shortly. But then I think the discussion has to be led at the European level, and it's important that France holds a very strong stance on the topic. I think it's the Prime Minister's willingness.
And as you were saying, you were in the thick of it 2 years ago, Charles Živelinović. You're close to the then immigration minister. There was that tussle with Brussels over France doing this. The French accused of pandering to the far right, chastising a minority community. Has your view changed in the last 2 years over what to do to solve the problem?
Well, actually, not. What we see that the exact same thing is happening. Manuel Valls is
the Interior Minister.
The Interior Minister is actually going to force some people to a repatriation. And today you see that there is a true division in the Socialist Party and in the government. Is he
wrong, the Interior Minister, to
no,
be,
he is not wrong.
Deporting these people?
He is still continuing what we have done, and he is not forcing people to repatriation. What is happening is that people who are going out of France now, they have 150 euros for their children. They have 300 euros and their ticket, which is also paid. So you see that we have a true generosity. And when they go out of France, it's a voluntary act. They are not chased out of France. And those who are put in planes are only those who made violences, robberies, or do not have justification of their own identity. So each time there is a decision of justice. Each time there is an application of the French law. So we are now out of the law. We are just respecting the law, and Manuel Valls is just continuing what we have done.
Just let me say that I think it's wrong to say that the right and the left are leading the same policy in this debate. There are different things. There is a difference between applying decisions of justice, which Manuel Valls has done as a Minister of the Interior, and with actually leading and starting a reflection on the topic on how to integrate Roma populations, which the previous government, has not done. And the main difference is also that today you have no stigmatization of the Roma population in itself, and you have no such thing as a horrific speech as the one that Sarkozy has pronounced in 2010 in Grenoble, directly aiming at this population and aiming more generally at immigration as a cause of delinquents and of delinquents in France. There is no such thing in the French government, and there's a real willingness to go forward with further measures.
We just have to recall that the Roma populations have also free healthcare in France, so that they have also a free school in France for their children. So there is a true generosity in our country for this population.
It's not generosity, it's equality of European citizens in front of the law. If you just...
All right, let me get your reaction to all this and the measures that have been announced just a couple of hours ago by the Prime Minister's office. Among those measures, first of all, that there will be an extension of the number of types of jobs that Roma people can hold down. And another one that they're scrapping an 800 euro, I guess you could call it a levy, tax or fine imposed on employers who hire Roma people.
Well, there is a lot to say. First of all, at the beginning, I was very happy to debate with you guys, because I saw in your intervention a bit of hope on the new political class in France. Unfortunately, don't make the same mistakes that your older mates, guys. Politics is not what you are taught to by your respective political parties. Go on the spot, meet people, speak with them. You will learn a lot more from the people you will meet in your life than in your respective parties, be that left or right or whatever.
On the measures, though, that have
on
been
the
announced.
measures. Now, these measures is exactly the way of doing politics, which is not the good one.
So what would you like to have heard come out of that meeting at the Prime Minister's office?
What is the problem with just putting out these measures and saying now the Romanians and the Bulgarians are Europeans with exactly the same rights that Germans, Italians, and so on? There is no problem with this, apart from the fears of the public opinion. We are here also, I am here today, for contributing a bit, at least, that people can understand the real situation. The real situation is that in France there are 500,000 jobs which are vacant with no one wanting to occupy them.
Menial jobs, low-paying jobs.
500,000 jobs in France which are there and no one wants to take them. And we are, do you know, guys, this population which is living in those shanty towns and that we call the Roma, they are not all of them Roma, first of all. And only a minority, only one, I don't know, maybe three on 3 Roms on 1,000 are living in a shanty town. Do you know where they come from and what can they do? What are their skills? Do you know? Do you have an idea of what are their skills? What can they do? They are all of them, they are peasants. They are all of them raised up with agriculture, with biological agriculture. And there are a lot of jobs here near Paris to do that. So let's take let's consider first that this is not a Roma problem or Romani problem. It is the problem of Romanian and Bulgarian citizens in France. And let recognize that they can do something in France which will be useful for them and useful for everyone, and they are ready to contribute to everything, to pay taxes. And about the health insurance, for instance, let me say that it is not free anymore for a few months already.
All right, we're going to pick up. We're going to pick up on.
They pay for
I'm going to have to interrupt you because we have to take a break, but we are going to pick up on those points. I promise. Stay with us. You're watching the France 24 debate.